Hey man, sorry about this. I think the coronavirus is killing my internet, dude. I'm really, really sorry
Oh,
about this.
no problem. I kept them well entertained while you were gone. I took over.
Did you? You told them some naughty stories. I hope.
Yeah.
But mate, I mean, like, the mind boggles really about some of the stuff you've done. And I mean, did you ever feel fear during these periods? Did you ever have that feeling in the back of your head of like, say, the night before you fly to Mogadishu? Do you think shit? This,
Well,
like seriously, the shit could hit the fan here.
you obviously haven't got to the last two chapters then, have you? Because
Well,
there's
no,
more.
no, I have. No, I finished. No, I finished the book, but
All right.
I just wanted to know,
Oh, what happened? I
no, just from your own,
okay.
like, it's almost like it's too good to be true because I get what happens in the book, but I'm just asking you, like, honestly, did you ever, were there points where you're like, oh fuck?
Okay, so I'll give a bit of backstory to the
Mm,
guys. So the night before we head to Mogadishu, our security detail fell through, the guys who were supposed to protect us, and we got this email saying they're not going to endorse war zone tourism and basically
yeah,
cancel your trip. It's fucking dangerous here. We don't endorse war zone tourism. And essentially, at that point, our group split up. Only two of us decided to get on the plane.
yeah.
Yeah, of course, I was shitting bricks. But if you remember in that story as well, what just happened to me that day or the night before was fucking terrifying as well. Like I held for ransom by those crazy bitches. I'm not going to give
Oh
out too much
mate,
away, but
that's mental. That's
yeah.
mental. And the thing about where was it with the girl with the unfortunate protruding
Oh,
tail
like
light?
Liberia. She had an extended coccyx. Yeah, it was gross. It was like a load of rocks, like trying to burst under her tailbone.
uh,
It was not
uh,
sexy. Not sexy.
yeah, it's not good. It's not. That's great. I mean, but some of these incidents are just crazy. But I mean, can you talk us through going back a little bit before you got into the really crazy stuff? How did the Naughty Nomad site come about? How did you get into sort of writing about this stuff in the first place? Because as you say, I think it's fair to say now your site is the premium resource now for guys looking to travel, isn't it? Particularly after things have changed over with Rouge, for example. So how did you sort of get into it in the first place?
Well, I mean, I started backpacking. Well, I had a really good adventure when I was 18. I was very lucky. We have this thing called Angashka. You guys call it the Duke of Edinburgh Award.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and part of that is you have to go on an adventure. And I have my girlfriend at the time happened to be from this little town called Mulla, County Cavan, and
Yeah.
that's the same town where Ernest Shackleton's I think cousin
Mm,
Jonathan Shackleton lived, and he used to do
okay.
these excursions to Antarctica. So I got in with him, and he got me. I had to write this letter, and basically got me on this excursion to Antarctica for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and that was the most incredible experience of my life.
Yeah.
The Drake Passage, the roughest sea in the world. We actually ended up having to rescue a Russian ship called the Vavilov. It got stuck in the ice. It got so cold, and we got stuck in the ice. We had the second strongest non-nuclear icebreaker,
Wow.
Polar Star, and we got stuck as well. That's how bad it was. And the only way we were going to save ourselves was for the Vavilov to ram into the back of our icebreaker and combine all our horsepower to edge out of the ice. And the whole back of the back stern got destroyed and everything. So
Wow.
after that journey, I just had a lust for travel. So
Mm,
I always did really adventurous backpacking trips. Well, most guys
yeah.
were doing interrailing or going around Europe when they were 19, 20 during college. I was like, 19, we went all around Southeast Asia. A
Yeah.
friend of mine and my friend basically knocked up a chick. He's still there. One of the guys, we lost him very early on that
Right
trip.
down.
And then the other one was Cairo to Cape Town. And I noticed that comparing other stories with other backpackers, our stories were not like anyone else's because we
Yeah.
always kind of took things to an extreme. I guess I
Yeah.
just had a crazy bunch of mates, and everyone was just telling me you should write a book, you should write, and I felt like it was almost like an obligation. So,
Yeah.
and then it was a self fulfilling prophecy. It was a cycle. So I got into my niche, and that perpetuated perpetuated it. I had to kind of fulfill the role. So in a
Yes.
way, in a way, it was a bad thing as well. I write about that in the book because I kind of became a performance monkey. I was always taking things to the next extreme. You know, how many girls could I pull? I was like, I was on public record, or how many dangerous
Yeah.
places would I go to? How I
Yeah.
purposely got myself into dangerous situations so I could tell stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is kind of one of the things with the trade, isn't it? Really, in a sense, because when you put yourself on that public platform and you're telling people these stories, then you do get that sense of having to live up to it, don't you? And it's I've experienced something of that myself, but I certainly I'm friends with Tom Torero, and actually we went to Bosnia last year, and we were using your site to check out a couple of places. And Bosnia's kind of, have you been to Bosnia? That's kind of a slightly edgy place.
Yeah. I like Bosnia, actually. They're a great pub scene over there.
Yeah.
Moderately conservative, I would say, especially by European standards.
Yes.
I like the Balkans in general, though. It definitely is edgy. How many people go to Sarajevo? It's no, I mean,
Yeah.
there are no Ryanair flights going there. It's very few. Those places are dying to death. Those gems. I think the next place I'd recommend people to go to, somewhere like Georgia, to Azerbaijan, Armenia, great part of the world as well, but very conservative. Don't go there to party and pick up, unless it's more for wife hunting. But I mean, if you show up in a place dressed like this, things happen. Yeah.
Are there any times where because obviously what I found interesting was what you described in terms of like you walk into the venue and the guys are all looking at you like what the hell, and the girls are all swarming around you, like, and it's very interesting that response. But did you get much pushback from guys? Did it ever result in fights and things like this when you've been to some of these places?
You would think so, but no, it's so disarming. Like I'm actually a moderately dressed Mexican pirate. Like, some of my friends would wear giant fake mustaches, come in with giant inflatable bananas, or Jedi, like glow in the dark swords. People just thought we were idiots. So they did. The guys are just like, psh, these guys. Just to answer that guy Scott there, what's the most dangerous place? I would say most dangerous. Cote d'Ivoire at the time was pretty dangerous. Djibouti, Somali. The most dangerous place, I guess. Usually in the most, for example, in Mogadishu, there's no bars or there's no drinking. It's in terms of dangerous place, the answer is Cote d'Ivoire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think that before you came on, right, I was sort of like, I was going off into a bit of a spiel about the pirate symbolism, because I know that obviously you're doing it for a laugh and all the rest of it. But actually there's actually a sort of a symbolism to it as well, isn't there? Because you're basically positioning yourself as, what is the pirate, the marauder who's coming in to basically take what he wants, and the bandit, the criminal. And do you think that girls on some primal level, they kind of respond to that?
Absolutely, it's basically caveman game. Often when we were going to pick up girls, we wouldn't even talk. It'd be more like grunts, like yar yar, and you'd poke them and you'd pull their hair, and it's very caveman-y. But if you look at, I think, romance novels, the most popular stereotypes are things like, sorry, just turn off my phone there. The most popular stereotypes are things like gladiators, pirates. What would be another typical one? God, Vikings or something like that.
Yeah.
This would work. It's the same kind of thing. It's almost like a primitive. I would just call it a caveman game almost.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of? There's a dude called Bronze Age Pervert.
I heard your little preamble. Actually, it was. Did
you hear?
Preamble? Yeah. I got snippets of it. Yeah.
Because I was cutting out a little bit there, but I won't read the whole thing. But interestingly, he talks about pirates quite a lot in his book, and he says men should be pirates, right? And he says, women never love the shopkeeper, the timid merchant with the nasal, with the nasal voice. Not even the clockmaker or craftsman. They've always loved the knight, the sailor in love with the wild idea of the sea, the adventurer and the pirate. And I mean, his whole thing is, I won't go off into a whole spiel about him, because obviously, we're talking about your book. But I think his whole thing is basically that guys need to be more dangerous. He talks about masculinity, but he's interpreting that as you need to be a bit wild. You need to be a bit riskier. You need to live on the edge more. And that's something that probably people in our generation, do less. But you've really taken it to the max, haven't you? I mean, would you encourage guys to go down the same route, or what's your thinking about that?
Well, I encourage people to do what they kind of want. I mean, at my essence, this is sort of like what I've been like since I was a kid. Like I always loved Indiana Jones and James Bond, and I always saw myself as someone who was, went on great adventures and that kind of thing. I couldn't wholeheartedly recommend people go to places like Somalia because they would be taking their lives in their hands. But I think people should always push their boundaries. You should always be learning. You should always be trying new things. I'm just the way I live my life is I live my life, and if that inspires some guys to take chances and take risks and just go crazy a little bit. I think everyone needs to go crazy a little bit in their 20s, especially because how do you know yourself if you don't know your boundaries?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I'd agree. You need to, but you've sort of you've perhaps quietened down a little bit, and there is a little bit of a character arc in the book where you talk about, at the end you talk about the sort of the lessons you've learned and stuff. And there is there's a little bit of a sort of, I've come to realize the more important things in life, and you sort of settled a little bit. But I don't think that the bug for travel has fully left you, has it? I don't think it will ever leave you,
No. I mean, I got plans. I don't want to reveal them, but they're pretty goddamn adventurous plans on a whole different. Oh no, that's never going to leave me. It's just the frequency is not as much as it used to be. For example, I just don't go on like long 3-month periods because I got big projects now, open bars. But like I'm dying to go to the likes of Afghanistan soon. I was like last year I was in the likes of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Nepal, which were adventurous enough. But I definitely have quietened down, but I still plan on doing some cool ass adventures. It's just I got different priorities right now. My priorities are building my base here. So this is my first piece of real estate. We're opening a third bar next month. I've an
Are they all in the same sort of area, or are they a bit split out?
They're all. You can walk to all of them pretty much.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. So kind of, I'm Mr. Gentrification here on the island of Malta. That's my. I basically copied what was going on in Harlem in New York. There was this little in Hamilton Heights. Was this little bar, I think it was called Harlem Tavern or something. But one cool bar moved into this crappy little neighborhood. And within 2 years, like all the students, the gay community moved up there. And within 2 years, there was 7 bars open around that block. And they just went in and gentrified. So what I went in was I go see places that have cheap rents, that are completely underdeveloped because they don't know what they're doing here in bars. So I'd go in, set up, craft beer, cocktails, basically copy the American model, and it's been very successful. And it's kind of snowballed very, very fast. So I'm enjoying that right now. I just want to set it up so I can, feel comfortable with my security in the future when I build a family, because I realized since, what happened with let's say Roosh with the PayPal and a lot of other guys with censorship, and I see the trends online, I'm starting to think that in our space, and in your space too, maybe a little bit, because it's the same kind of thing, that it's sort of like a castle built on sand. I'm just a bit weary of it moving forward.
I think, and I think
that's yourself.
A bit, yeah. I mean, I was talking to some guys about various things today, because it's sort of like, you're on different platforms. So like, obviously there's YouTube, but I use some different platforms. Like I've got some books on Gumroad. I use Amazon. I use, Patreon a little bit. There's all these different platforms, but you're always thinking, and like, I'm pretty polite, really. Do you know what I mean? It's not like I'm not putting out any sort of like the type of stuff that, you see from some people, but nevertheless, in the current climate, you kind of think, well, I could get chucked off this platform at any point. And yeah, you're right. I mean, I think you need to have, you've got to have something else going on. I think, you need to have another string to your bow. And I mean, I've got some other bits and pieces in the background that I've got as well. Do you know what I mean? Because I think it increasingly, it is a very risky area, isn't it? But saying that, I mean, are you still full on with the site in the same way that you were before?
God, no, I'm terrible. I think when I moved to New York a couple of years ago, I really quieted it down because I didn't do any travel when I was in New York. I was stuck
Yeah,
in America. And I kind of focused. I released my second book. It was all about New York City. So that I kind of, yeah. And by the way, you can kind of explore the world in New York as well because there's so many tribes and areas and cultures.
yeah,
It's almost like a world city. So I definitely lost interest in blogging. I don't actually
yeah.
really enjoy it anymore, to be honest. It's such a pain in the editing. That's why actually I'm kind of like what you're doing now with live streaming and YouTube. I'm thinking I might go in that direction a bit more.
Yeah, well, I picked up this live streaming thing because, basically because other guys I knew were doing it, and it's quite fun.
A bit
there
scary
is
though. You have to
it's
watch it.
scary.
What
Yeah,
would I say?
yeah. In case you come out with some like outrageous thing, but no, it's kind of cool. It's quite fun, and I find it can be quite a creative process as well because you can talk about something that you pick a topic that you're interested in, you can go off on it and talk for like an hour or 2 hours or something about this thing, and that is as creative a process for me as it is to write something. Really, it's kind of cool. But yeah, so when you were in New York, were you doing a sort of corporate type job there?
No, actually, I was working in bars.
Oh,
I've been bars
really?
all my life.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. There's really good money over there in bars. You can make a couple of hundred at night, and you can really live a good life over there. So I was doing that, and my finger in a few other pots. Um, and basically, some nights I would go to like 10 venues a night to research my book. I went really crazy with it. And also I had more crazy experiences, I think, well, in terms of in bedroom experiences in New York than anywhere else in the world. That place is degenerate.
Mate,
Like, to give you the
yeah, sorry,
go on.
Karen. I said
No, like,
I need to read your New York book next, actually, because I've always loved New
however,
York, and yeah,
yeah,
carry
that's
on.
great. But unfortunately, I didn't include. I was kind of in a rush to get it out, so I didn't include any stories. It's purely a guidebook. It's all
Okay,
about them.
okay.
Yeah. But I think I'm gonna do a second edition of it if I go back over. I'll include the stories, or I'll publish my stories at some point because, god damn, I have some mad stuff. I had definitely more threesomes in my life than ever in these 2 years over there. And I
Wow.
had one time I had a transgender woman fly me over to LA to sleep with his wife because the penis wasn't there anymore. If that makes
Well,
sense. Yeah.
it was a nice gesture of
Yeah. She was lovely. Or she was lovely. Would we
yeah.
get banned for this? I don't know what to call her. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, internet.
That's my channel down now. But no, well, that's it. Whereabouts were you living in New York? Or did you
Hamilton
move?
Heights, Harlem.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah. So northern Manhattan, and I was living in Sunnyside, Queens for a little bit as well. And so they were my two areas, and it was really cool though, because I got to. It was also parties I used to go to. You needed a passport to go into these things, and you go into this. And you'd have people dressed like vampires. You have a midget dressed as Marilyn Manson singing on stage. People going around in gimps masks, being I got a great picture. I got a great picture from this. People being led around. I had a Russian girl that I used to bring around on a leash, and we used to go
Oh
for
yeah.
like to restaurants, just regularly restaurants. Just I used to bring her on a collar and leash.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
it was
interesting.
just
Were you
yeah.
into the sort of that kind of BDSM type thing, or was it just a one off with her?
I dabbled. I dabbled.
Yeah.
Things like nude masquerade parties where you just show up with a mask and a cock ring kind of thing.
Well, that's interesting. That's interesting because I've always quite liked that stuff. I mean, I've written some stuff about. I mean, particularly here in London. I mean, there's a few things here in London, like Torture Garden is one.
I'd say that's pretty wild. If the underground there as well.
There's a few things, yeah. I mean, it's like everywhere. It's sort of got cleaned up a bit, but there's a few things going on here, and also Berlin. So I go to Berlin quite a lot, and there's some
I
interesting
like
places.
Berlin.
So there's some interesting places over there, like Kit Kat Club and stuff like that. I've written about, and there's some crazy stuff I've seen there. Some mental kind of things going on there. It's a very degenerate kind of scene over there still. Although I think coronavirus is killing it at the moment because I'm hearing that all the places are closing down for a month.
Well, I'm stuck here now. I was supposed to go to Ireland tomorrow,
Really?
and the Maltese government just announced that all incoming flights, everyone has to be quarantined. So they're completely shutting off. All the gaming companies here are sending everybody home to work from home. Everyone who can work from home is going to, and they even talk about maybe closing down the bars and restaurants. And if you go to all the supermarkets here, all the shelves are empty. People are panicking. It's crazy. I've never seen anything like it.
I mean, it is. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to know what to say about it, isn't it? Except that it's very disturbing. I mean, like I'm personally less concerned about actually getting it, but I think that just the ramifications of this thing are pretty scary, aren't they? Certainly economically, and just as well. I mean, it's funny because I was reading your book and I've had a bit of a yen to. I haven't been out of London for a little bit, but you know, you get a bit of a yen to travel. It's sort of coming into spring. You think it'd be nice to get on a plane, go somewhere. And now all these places are closing their borders. I mean, Ukraine's closed the borders, Czech Republic's closed the borders. It's sort of like, and it's like when the ability to travel is like taken away from you, suddenly you're like shit. This is, you know, you really value it, don't you?
I'm much more fearful about people going crazy than I am about the actual virus. I think that this is going to last longer than we expect as well. So I'm not so optimistic about it. Yeah, I mean, did you watch that podcast with Joe Rogan and that virus expert by any chance?
No, I haven't seen that one yet. No.
Well, it makes it sound like this is kind of the only the beginning. This thing could go on for 6 months to 9 months. You know, it could be, and I mean, it's interesting to see how the market's responding as well. I think we're only beginning to see the ramifications. It's a bit worrying now, to be honest. It's a bit worrying.
Yeah, totally.
Africa's probably the safest place to be right now.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, Russia was my Russian visa lasted until the end of, I think it lasted till the end of March. So I was thinking about getting a cheeky little trip in there. And then just as I was looking at it, then they're saying Moscow's was making people self-quarantine for 2 weeks, like you're talking about in Malta. And it's sort of like, well, suddenly you can't go anywhere, but my tourist abilities are sort of like, meaningless on the bigger scale of like what this is going to do to, I don't know, economically and socially. It's just I don't know.
I have a question for you, right?
Yeah.
Like, have you ever been to Africa, or what's the most dangerous place you've been yourself?
Oh, mate, not very, to be honest. I haven't been to Africa. I'd love to go. I would love to go to Africa, though. I really, really would. But I am not. I mean, this is why I admire you so much, because you've really taken it to. I've never really been that sort of traveler that I've taken it to that extent. I mean, I've always been. There are certain places that I've always been obsessed with, and I've gone many times. So New York is one of them, actually. Berlin's one of them. And there are various other places, like I love Eastern Europe. I love Russia, things like that.
I love Eastern Europe too.
Yeah. Also the Balkans as well. Also the Balkans. I feel like within Europe, I don't know about you, but I feel like within Europe, the Balkans is there's still a bit of an edginess there, isn't there?
Definitely. Absolutely. In fact, you know what? I've had more fun. I would say out of all the trips I've done, the most fun I've ever had has probably been the Balkans.
Really?
Yeah, like in terms of just absolute fun, just straight up like good, clean fun. Balkans and Scandinavia as well, actually.
Here's a question, right? Would you say that guys, or not guys, but people in general, would you say that people are too nervous about travel? Because I think people, not coronavirus, but just generally, that fear of leaving the country.
It's ridiculous. Most of these places are never as bad as they seem. Like Syria is a good example. Right now, nobody would go into Syria, but it's quite safe, especially if you visit Damascus. Damascus is very, very calm now. If you avoid the north, and it's a beautiful city. And the great thing about fear is if you go into the fire, that's often where you'll find the best gems, because if everyone else is scared to go there, you have the place to yourself, and you always have the best experiences in those circumstances. I mean, Damascus, when in 2012 there was fighting outside the suburbs where we went, we were the only non-Syrians there, and it was like going back in time to the Middle Ages. It was so cool. I loved it.
Yeah. What about somewhere like? Yeah. What about something like the war zone in, say, Ukraine, for example? I mean, I would imagine that's sort of like for you, that's like a afternoon picnic, isn't it? I would have
Yeah,
thought.
that's a playground stuff. That's playground stuff. It'd be so tame for me now. I wouldn't even be interested. I'd be much more interested in going somewhere like Afghanistan or like northern
Well,
Iraq or Baghdad or something.
okay, here's one thing that I think people get nervous about with travel. It's not so much getting killed or something. It's more like the corrupt governments, corrupt legal systems, things like that. And we've all seen like things like Midnight Express and these things where people, you know, banged up abroad and all this kind of stuff, where somebody gets, you know, you get in some dodgy situation. Really?
Yeah, no, I was in jail in Siberia once.
Wow.
I've nearly got arrested a couple of times in Africa, but it's just you just bribe them, you know. Just it's all about just handing over cash. You know, it's funny. I say it like it's normal, and you do get used to it over there. Bribery is just a way of life. It's not a big deal. You can pretty much get away with anything if you're willing to pay for it. That's the good thing about corruption and anarchy, is that money talks. If you commit crime in Europe, you know, you don't get away with it so much.
Yeah,
that's why like Malta's lovely and corrupt as well. So I kind of like that about it.
And hopefully the UK now as well, because now after Brexit, I'm thinking like after Brexit, maybe we can become a sort of like a bit of a rogue state. You know what I mean? And it could be like, you know, were you a Brexit fan, or what's your feeling on that?
You know, I didn't have too much of a strong opinion about it. Being Irish, I don't live in Ireland anymore. I kind of admire the fact that they did, because it took a lot of balls. If I was living over there, I don't think I would have been for it because the whole work and travel thing. But you know, I don't have too much of a strong opinion about it. I think fair play to you, because I don't like Europe, to be honest. I think they're a tyranny. I don't like the way their leaders are elected. I think they're authoritarian. I don't see it going in a good direction. I see regulations piling on. And all empires fall, and it's only a matter of time before Europe does. So I say fair play to you. I hope it works out.
Well, what can go wrong? But so Find the Formula has a question. Which countries have the hottest girls? Obvious question, but had to ask it.
It's a consensus, but I kind of would agree with the consensus. I'm going to put it to a tribe, more so a tribe, and that's, I think, Eastern Slavs. So, you know, Ukrainians, Belarusians. That part. I was just there 2 weeks ago, and I think they're very good looking, to be honest. Colombians as well, quite good looking, but they're a different type of hot, you know. I like Princess Jasmine type of girls, you know, dark skin, black hair. I thought Armenians were lovely. I thought you know, I think the Amharic tribe in Ethiopia is really lovely. Fulani girls in West Africa. But I have to say, objectively, I'm gonna go with Ukraine now, to be honest.
Well,
what about yourself?
Well, I would agree. I mean, I like that look. Although my girl, who I'm with now, is Indian actually, and I've always loved Indian girls. I think, you know, and she's very pale. She's quite pale skin, but very sort of
the type I like, because my girl's Colombian. So they similar kind of sultry, sexy.
Yeah.
You know,
But what's interesting about women is that it's like it's like a box of chocolates, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. There are so many different flavors, and it's like, you know, some
you get spoiled though. That's the problem. It's a paradox of choice.
Yeah, but I would say, I mean, yes, I think the Slavic, and clearly, you know, there's something in that, isn't there? Because clearly, you know, where do all the top models come from? You know, it's no coincidence that, you know, commercially these girls are used. But I mean, when I've been to Kiev, I mean, you walk around and it's like, I think the density, or whatever the word is, you know, in terms of the like if you go to Russia, you know, you walk around and you'll see some stunning women there for sure. But in Kiev, it's just like every second one is amazing.
Because you got a lot. The problem with Moscow and stuff like that, you get too much influence as well from the east. There's a lot of, and centrally, there's a lot of mix in there, so you don't get it's not concentrated Eastern Slavs, where in Belarus and Ukraine, it's very concentrated. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. The thing about the Ukrainians versus the Belarusians as well, they're a bit smaller as well in Ukraine, so that's kind of can be attractive as well.
Do you
yeah,
like
it's
that?
ridiculous.
Do you like that very modelly, very slender like look, or are you a bit more?
I like it all, bro. I like that. I could have, like, or some, mama bear from the Congo with a hip to waist ratio to here.
Tail.
I like, yeah. So, like, I mean, it's all. You know what though? I'm not so into. When I was younger, I was really. I liked Asians, but I've been kind of. I'm not. I don't find them so attractive anymore. I don't know why.
Korean girls are very beautiful, I think.
Well, you were in Seoul, were you?
Mm.
Yeah. See, I was a little. Maybe I was there at the wrong time of year. I was. They've good, lovely long legs and stuff, but I'm in the face. I know some of them have surgery, obviously, but I don't know. I don't know why I've kind of. I had a Japanese girl for a girlfriend for a long time. She was lovely, but you know what it is. I know what it is now. It's actually I'm talking about for relationships, because for me, and this, I don't have to be careful what I say, but having a girl from East Asia as a girlfriend is sort of like having a pet. No, that's right. You know what I mean? Like they always agree with you. They're very coy. They don't really. There's not much crack out of them, in terms of chat or drinking. It's always like yes, 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 and it's for me, it's not. It's not. It gets old. So.
Well, you want a bit of a balance, don't you? Because I suppose what you don't want is a sort of ball breaking.
No, you don't want stereotypical chick from Harlem. And I well, not to dish Harlem girls. I mean, some ratchet chick, like some, because I dated a girl from Harlem and she was absolutely lovely. So I don't want to point them all with the same brush, but you know what I mean? Some loud-mouthed, masculine, foul-mouthed, basically pirate.
Yeah. Well, you know the classic sort of woman that, in the manosphere, let's say, gets slated the whole time. The classic sort of like ball breaker, entitled kind of. You don't really want.
Yeah,
what I would suggest.
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them over in your part of the world,
mate. There is in London. It's like
English girls are tough cookies. They're like pirates. Irish girls too, man. They're like pirates. They're drinking, swearing. Blah, 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 blah. They're like lads.
They are. And I dated this girl actually. I nearly I moved in with this girl for a brief period until I threw her out because it was just intolerable. But who was very much an English princess, very much a London-y sort of type princess,
like from Kent or something.
Yeah. She was actually, yeah. And it's like
I like those actors though.
Yeah. But they've got the job. They get their nails done. Like everything's on point. They watch, and it's almost like they're pre-packaged and they come out the packet and they're all the sort of the same. And they all basically want to get married before 30, and they want to, and it's all the same programming. But the ring's got to be from Tiffany's and it's got to cost a certain amount of money and blah, all that kind of stuff. And she was, and it's I don't know. I just couldn't see myself. I wouldn't have been able to have continued in that situation. But as well, she used to swear all the time, and I'm not one of these dudes. I'm not one of these kind of types who are like, back to the 50s, and women should be seen and not heard, and any of that stuff. I'm not into that kind of stuff at all. But I have to say, she was swearing the whole time like a bloody sailor, and it did put me off a little bit. Do you know what I mean? It was a little bit like,
It's not. I don't think it's sexy. I mean, you're gonna bring that home to your parents. If you're dating, see the meerkat here. How you doing, man? So many Irish girls going for Polish lads. Yeah, if you go back to Ireland now, my village is hilarious. Everyone's either hooked up with an Eastern European girl or they're from Brazil. I mean, Brazil has just invaded. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Irish guys hooking up with Brazilian girls and Eastern Europeans. It's a pandemic over there.
Really?
I went down to my local village pub, which when I was younger, you wouldn't see someone as paler than everyone looks like me basically. It's all like milky. It was like United Nations down there at Christmas. Like all my mates from school, they're like, one has a Malaysian girlfriend, one has an Indian girlfriend, Polish, loads of Brazilians. It's like, what the hell? Does anyone date any Irish girls? I say they're so frustrated. So I think they're starting to clue up a bit. the problem with Ireland has gotten very, very Americanized, especially the younger generation.
Really?
Well, I mean, when I was young, divorce was illegal in my country. Imagine that. It was illegal when I was a kid. And then in a generation, we got the, abortion and divorce and gay marriage. It all came as one through referendum. Not saying that's wrong or right, but it just goes to show you how much things have changed in just a single generation.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Where were you? What part were you from originally?
I'm from a place called Meath, just outside Dublin.
Okay.
Used to be the old capital in the days of the kings. It's where Newgrange is. It's where the temples that are older than the Egyptian pyramids are.
Yeah, yeah.
But I grew up around like horses and cows and stuff like that. I had quite a nice childhood now, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds nice. I mean, Dublin is a beautiful place for sure. Do you know what I mean? And it's sort of like.
Well, we wouldn't say that if we're outside Dublin. We dish Dublin all the time. But it's good fun though. I tell you what, I'll give to Dublin. And it's same with London. There's very few places in the world where you can party 7 nights of the week and have just a blast, go 110%. There's very few you can do that on a Sunday, a Monday. I could probably name them off the top of my head. And Dublin is one of those places. The nightlife is very consistent, and same with obviously London, New York,
Berlin probably.
Yes, Berlin as well. I'm trying to think. Malta's like that as well. Is it? This place called Patcheville, 6 a.m. every night. It's messy.
What sort of stuff they play? Like techno type stuff, or
no, it's just charts, a bit of everything. It's basically like a Santa Ponza or Nayapa Ibiza, like a mini kind of thing like that. A lot of tourists, everyone's partying all the time. So you can always find a party here. And I'm trying to think of other places that are like that. I'm sure there's some in Asia. I'm sure Bangkok and a few others. They're rare in Europe. They're rare enough. So I'll give that to Dublin now, in fairness.
Yeah. Well, I think it's becoming a bit more. I mean, the thing with London, though, right, is that, and this is happening all over. It's the gentrification. Do you know what I mean? Because a lot of clubs have actually closed down in London because everyone wants to buy up the property to make into luxury flats and stuff.
Oh no!
So that's happening.
The Brooklyn edge, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. That's happening a lot over here, and you can start to see it happening in Berlin as well, actually, because you think Berlin's changed a lot since I've been going there regularly in the last like 10 years or so. It's gone for it's still gritty in parts, but it's becoming a lot more yummy mummy now, and it's sort of like it's. I don't know. It's a bit depressing, really. You want to keep the degeneracy going,
Yeah, I like, and a good example of this trend I noticed was in Phuket, for example. I went there first, 12 years ago, and it was kind of cool. You could have fun. And most of the bars are full of hookers and not interested. But there were certain clubs where it was just, normal clubs that were really good fun, laid back, loads of people. And now you go there. I went there. I was training at MMA there 2 years ago, and it's all bottle service. And don't leave your table. And it's a fortune to sit down. It's gotten completely crap. And I see that trend happening throughout Europe. I see it happening. I see it happening everywhere. Just, I think it just comes with greed.
Yeah.
But that's why it's fun to do what I'm doing. Like if you're coming around to dodgy spots or Africa, you'll find that kind of loose wildness that you look for.
I mean that's what I really like. I like the dodgier places to be honest. I mean, just on what you just said, I mean, what a place like Ibiza, I've been to Ibiza many times over the years, and I mean that's changed a lot. That used to be sort of like you go to Space on a Monday morning and there'd be like drag queens off their heads pushing each other around in trolleys and stuff. It was mental. Now it's all like bottle service, and it's all like I've parked the Lambo outside kind of thing, and it's all a bit like there's money there, but it's all a bit boring. It's like I've always preferred but where in Europe would you say there is an element of that? I mean, to me, the only place seems to be the Balkans, but even then, places that they're starting to get more money now, aren't they? There's like Romania's coming up and everything, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. But there are gems now. Even have you ever been to Christiania in Copenhagen?
Oh, what the smoking part?
Yeah, man, that place felt like it was a post-apocalyptic wonderland. People in masks and around barrels of fire. They're selling joints and stuff. And that's pretty sophisticated Western Europe.
Yeah,
so there definitely are gems out
true.
there. You can always find it. You know, this Metal Kova in Slovenia, it's like that. They have this compound they took over in the capital, Ljubljana.
Everything like that is where the biggest market is on the internet and everything. But it's always seemed to me that Europeans seem a bit more irreverent than Americans. Do you know what I mean? Like, it seems like we take the piss more, basically. Do you know what I mean? Or we're less sort of, I don't know. There's a sort of earnestness, isn't there, about the Americans that I think goes hand in hand with it.
It's hard to describe. You know, even the way they treat work and travel. They get whatever their 2 weeks off, and they don't travel as much. I think we're quite privileged in Europe.
Yeah.
And the whole taking the piss thing, we are definitely more reverent. I just think we have a better work-life balance, and that's a cultural thing. You know, if you go over to East Asia, it's even worse. They're 10 days off a year. God, we're just lucky, I guess. But I don't know why that is. I couldn't muse on it, but we definitely take the piss more.
Yeah,
especially,
for sure.
Especially our Irish and English. You know, like the British Isles in general. Like we're very laddish. Like you know, an Irish or a British stag party is always a shit show. Oh my god.
Yeah.
The stuff that goes on.
Yeah.
You know, Americans would be horrified.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's a certain sort of preppy clean cutness about some Americans, isn't there, that I think is sort of like, you know, you couldn't imagine somebody like Pete Doherty or Sid Vicious or somebody coming from America, really. It'd be kind of hard to...
No. But I love Americans. I have to say, I absolutely love them. They're so friendly.
100%.
I love living over there so much, and especially like having the Irish accent and the bartender stuff. I felt like a rock star over there, man. It was fucking...
Is it true that it's slightly easier to get a US visa as if you're Irish? Is that the case?
We have a pretty close relationship. I was there on a graduate visa, so after I finished my master's in international relations, they gave me a year work visa.
Okay, yeah. I don't think you can do that from Britain. From England. I don't think. I could be wrong though. I'm not sure.
Yeah, if anyone ever has an opportunity to live over there, or even Canada as well, you know, I just love it over there so much. You know, Manhattan is so great because you know you have Amazon in an hour or 2 hours, it'll be your place. Crazy.
Mate, I absolutely. I mean, I had a long love affair with Manhattan, with New York, and
they love the English accent too.
Yeah. And I must go back. I want to go back soon. Actually, I've been sort of hankering after going back. I've not been for a few years, and it's just awesome. I mean, the thing with New York is though, like I always wanted it to be like Taxi Driver. Do you know what I mean? I always wanted it to be like the sort of the seedy old, the grittiness, and I think it probably lost a bit of that, but it's still just a fantastic.
You can find it. You can find the grit.
Yeah, for sure.
It's there. You just have to scratch the surface.
Yeah. I used to go around like Alphabet City and stuff like that, the Lower East Side.
Like that. That was actually probably my favorite spot, like in Manhattan for sure, and Brooklyn as well, Bushwick and Williamsburg. But I like Lower East Side because it was close to me. But yeah, that's kind of more my scene. And you got everything in Lower East Side. You got like fancy places, complete dive bars. You got a whole spectrum there.
Yeah, for sure, man. By the way, how long have you got? Because I don't want to keep you for too long.
I'm all right. I have another 45 minutes, so I'm good. I got a book launch party tonight, so I'm actually it's on a pirate ship.
Really?
Yeah, I arranged the Black Pearl. For anyone in Malta who's listening, probably zero, but I arranged a book launch party on an actual pirate ship. So it's a bar on the pirate ship. So
that's fantastic. Have you got have you got some mates coming over? You've got people who are in the book coming over.
Well, they're supposed to, but they quarantined. The whole thing is a disaster now. They stopped all inbound flights here, so everyone's cancelled flights. It's a disaster. I had mates flying over from America.
Really?
Mates coming over from America, and they had to cancel because they obviously the block flights there as well. So a bit of a disaster, but I'm here. I'm going to make the most of it. Have a few drinks. It would just be good. So I'll make the most of it.
Definitely. Let's just go back to the book again, because obviously that know here to plug the book, and
we're meandering. I'm sure like we'll have to meet up for a coffee, or I know you're not you don't drink anymore, but and have a good chat sometime.
Mate, 100%. I mean, I'm down for Malta, to be honest. I'll probably head over to Malta at some point, so we should 100% meet up because it would be it'd be a blast. I've been meaning to come to Malta for a while actually. It's a fucking cool spot. But
yeah, the new bar we're opening is more in the heart of the action, and it's going to be cool. So I'll bring on a pub crawl of the 3 bars.
Mate, 100%. When does the season really kick off there? Is it like May, would you say, or?
Yeah, it starts pretty early, but I recommend coming June to November because May can get pretty stormy actually.
Oh, really? Okay. And then what's the weather like in the summer? It must be nice, right?
Glorious. I mean, where I go to work on my laptop, I walk 5 minutes. I have one of those gated electric scooters, and it's just waterfront, Valletta. It's something from a movie, and it's all sun is shining. All this 300 days of sunshine. You can get up to 4 degrees and get a little bit hot, but at least you have the ocean there to cool you down. It's kind of paradise, man. To be honest, I love it here. Where I bought my place is 2 minutes walk from the waterfront, and it's right in the center. You don't need a car or.
Yeah. How come you, out of everywhere, then you ended up in Malta? Was it just because you loved the place and it was, saw an opportunity or any?
Well, when I came back from New York City, I wanted to live somewhere in Europe because it was closer to home. And out of all my friends who traveled, who lived in Canada, Australia, Korea, wherever, and the Middle East, my mate in Malta, who actually. I'll go back to that story in a minute, but he had the best lifestyle. So I copied and pasted. But actually how he ended up here was 10 years ago, we went as Mexican pirates. We sieged Malta for a week and we were pulling left, right and center. And he met a Swedish girl. He fell in love with her and he moved over her for her. So he ended up here through that trip. And then it turns out like 7 or 8 years later, I followed him over because I love his lifestyle.
Yeah.
Lifestyle.
Nice. Awesome. So find the formula saying anywhere else in America you like the girls as well as NYC, blah blah.
Vegas and Northway. I can't really. I've been to Washington. The bars close too early. California is way too spread out. Like LA, I find that way too spread out. I don't like the scene there too. The bars close too early. For me, like nothing comes close to New York. I mean, I haven't had that much experience. I'd love to go down to Miami. I don't know what that's like. I'm sure you'll have more. I'm sure it's even more fun in Middle America because you're more exotic.
Yes.
So you're not talking to an expert.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to Vegas and I've been to Miami, and I mean, like, I'm going to but coronavirus. Permitting, I'm going to Vegas in April to do an event with some of the Rule Zero guys.
I saw that. Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, well, it will be awesome. But I mean, obviously, at the moment, it's kind of like, but at the moment, it's all going ahead. So I'll be over there in April, and that should be pretty cool. But I've been to
Rolo and Ryan Stone and all those lads.
That's right. Yeah, and John Modern Life Dating. Yeah,
yes,
so it's
John.
And actually, yeah. Are you going to go on his show?
Yeah, John. John didn't send you an email, but I will shoot you an email. Come on.
Yeah, cool, man. Cool.
Rolo was saying he was going to have me on as well, but I think we just have to communicate a bit more. So I don't know when.
Oh, I can give him a nudge. I think he's got some stuff.
No. He said I think he's just so busy, man. He said absolutely, he'd love to have me on, and then I shot him another email. I think I can imagine that guy gets so many goddamn emails.
Oh, mate. I mean, obviously
he's blown up.
Yeah, exactly. But Vegas is like, I mean, I like the idea of Vegas more than I like the actual place, if you know what I mean. Because I had this fantasy before I went to Vegas. I'm like, oh, it's going to be like really. I love the whole idea of the gambling and the neon lights and the seediness and everything like that. But it's sort of a bit. It's
very bottle servicey, is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's one of the problems. But you can go further down the strip. When you go further down the strip, you've got some of the older places down there, and that's quite interesting. You've got like the old pawn shops and some more broken down hotels and stuff like that. So that's kind of cool. I like it in a way because I like big clubs and fancy music, as I kind of like that stuff, but then I don't like it as well because in the back of my head I'm always thinking, but really I just want to be in some dive somewhere, where it's a bit more dodgy, So I've got a kind of a love-hate relationship with it, but it's a fun place. I've been to Miami as well, but that was a long time ago. I mean, beautiful. Like the beach is beautiful. Ocean Drive is really nice and everything like that. I'm told for game, it's an amazing place. But I think New York is the place that I love there the most is New York, because it's got that European feel. It's a very cultural place. You know, like it's just got so much substance to it, I think, for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've got women from all over the world, and it's great for dating.
Yes. Oh yeah, it's like the world. It's basically like the world city. For me, it's always been the capital of the planet. You know, I always felt like that.
Well, they say if you
so go on.
They say if you stand in Times Square long enough, you'll see someone you know walking past or something like that, don't they? You know, it's just like it.
You'd be surprised. It starts to feel like a small village after a while. You know, you do bump into people. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
And just to answer a question in the chat there, yes, I did have a hair transplant. I had hair transplant 6 weeks ago in Turkey. Got stuff taken down here. I was going a bit light on top.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a painless experience. I highly recommended it. It's only been 6 weeks. I love the results. I was going in the middle, you see. I was getting bald in the middle and not the sides. It looked a bit weird. Now, most people didn't notice. People just thought I got a haircut, but long term, it was annoying me.
Okay.
And any tips for guys looking to relocate from London to Eastern Europe? I'm sure you could help with answering that as well. Like, it depends where you what you like. It's all about getting the balance right between conveniences and lifestyle. It depends what you're doing as well, your budget and all that.
Yeah, and you probably, if you're English or British, you might want to do it sooner rather than later, because obviously with Brexit, it's going to become, I mean, I think at the moment, it's almost like in the transition, we've got that bit of an amnesty period where we've still got freedom of movement. You can still relocate somewhere. After next year, it might get a bit harder.
Where would you move to? Where would you move if you were to relocate?
Well, I've actually got a place in Berlin. I've got a small place in Berlin, which sweet. I'm supposed to have relocated to, and I kind of kept coming back to London with my tail between my legs for various reasons. But that's another story. But so that would be a no-brainer for me. But if it was Eastern Europe, I was thinking about this the other day, and it's sort of like maybe Warsaw, because Warsaw is. I know some people in Warsaw. There's quite a few Brits in Warsaw in this space. It's quite central. It's easy to get around. It's very modern, blah, blah, blah. The other place that I love is Budapest, actually.
Yeah, Budapest is cool.
I just think it's just beautiful. It's just
an awesome... Simplekert, that bar Simplekert?
Yes. Yeah. I love Budapest, and it's relatively inexpensive as well. Still, amazingly. Although I'm sure that will go through the roof at some point. So that would be a good one. Beyond that, I don't know really. I mean, it depends where but you're right. You've got to get that balance between. You know, it's cheaper than the UK, and it's certainly cheaper than London, wherever you go, which is good. But on the other hand, you've got to make sure that you've got the things that you need there as well, the infrastructure and all that. So, you know.
I think I'd go to Belgrade and Kiev. That would be my two choices.
Oh, well, okay, yeah. I mean, Kiev as well, for sure.
Well, it depends what you want. It depends what you want.
Yeah. 6 and 7. What's the goal of going higher? I think it's got to be a pirate hat, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. This kind of thing, by the way, this whole thing, you need to do it with friends, because if you show up to a place like this alone, it doesn't work. You know, that's one thing. It's like anyone who's read, I still think it's it's an oldie but a goodie, is the Venusian Arts Handbook by the Mystery Method. That was I kind of I'm old school. I used to take a lot of chapters out of that. And
yes.
He talked about peacocking, and I've just taken peacocking to an extreme, I guess. Yes, but we're gonna go back to something. What was it?
Well, the book, but
oh yeah. I'm telling the,
the small matter
of actually, check it out. Boom, there it is. My Life's. You can get it at MexicanPirates.com, guys.
Let me take this off the thing. That is a great cover. That's a really, really cool cover as well. Did you design that?
I designed it myself, actually.
Did you? That's really nice. Really, really cool.
It's actually 50% off for anyone listening for the next 2 days.
Where do people get it? Is it just Amazon, or can they go to your site as well, or what's the crack?
Sorry, I got a message there. Say that again.
Where do they get it? Is it Amazon, or do they go to
MexicanPirates.com?
Ah, okay. MexicanPirates.com. Cool. Okay.
Yeah, MexicanPirates.com.
And just to recap on what's in it, because it really is the story of your most extreme travels, isn't it? But did you just want to recap on what people can expect when they grab it?
Yeah, sure. Well, so basically, it comes in 3 parts. the first part is very short. It just starts about how it comes. There's actually, I've done pirate maps to kind of indicate this is like the Balkans where it all started, and Hispaniola, Haiti after the earthquake, Dominican Republic. Story how my first night in our first night in Dominican Republic. Actually, I don't want to give it away. I'll let people read for themselves because it's a good story. And also the second part there is kind of the chunkiest bit is the siege of West Africa. So we went from what you call it, the Gambia to Lagos as Mexican pirates the whole way over 3 months. That was wild as well. And then the third part is this. So this counters 2 trips. That's kind of if you broken up trips, and eventually Somalia, which is kind of the most extreme of it all.
Yeah.
So it's 28 chapters, 70,000 words. It took me 5 years since I started writing. I took a break of 2 years because I had a lot of media attacks. Do you remember that whole Rouge scandal?
Yeah.
I had the Sunday World in Ireland. They wanted an Irish angle, so they did a 2-page spread on me, and they committed libel. Like they eventually had to take it down.
Oh, really?
But, wow. Yeah, but it made me paranoid for a while. I was worried, because things are getting very politically correct, and
yes,
this book isn't exactly politically correct.
But it's, I mean, firstly, it is very well written. So I mean, even though it's taken you, whatever you say about yourself as a writer, I mean, it's incredibly well written. But I mean, it's not. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about talking about political correctness. But I mean, you seem to me to be a very measured kind of a dude. I mean, it's not some sort of a. It's anything but some kind of a misogynistic rant. I mean, it seems like you're somebody who absolutely loves women. You love female energy and all that kind of stuff. So it's a celebration, really, if anything, isn't it? I would say.
Well, I'm glad you see it like that. I was hoping it would come across. There's one or two towards the end. There's certain things I was saying that might be considered controversial to some audiences, but I tried to toe the line.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I have a lot of female readers, actually. So I want, even the last book, there was a lot of women who read the book. And so, I mean, it's obviously, if I got female readers, it's saying something.
Sure. In all of your travels, right, have you noticed any differences in female nature, let's say, the way women react? Or would you say, is it fair to say that really all over the place it's kind of the same?
Well, let me tell you something. You talk about the red pill. This is why I'm not God pill. I'm very red pill, is because when you kind of do what I do and you dress like this, I have been in situations that would break your heart. It would break your soul to see the stuff I've pulled off with, guys showing up to a bar with their girlfriends. It's like, I'll take her. And it's pretty. In a way, I've seen too much. I've seen a lot of darkness.
Yes.
So I know it's almost like if you show up like this even if you go to somewhere like Georgia or Azerbaijan, it's kind of like you kind of feel like you go in as a rock star. I mean, we've walked into places where people start clapping and stuff like that. So wait, sorry, what was the original question again? I went off on a tangent there.
Female nature. Would you say it's the same?
Yeah. It's pretty. Now, listen, not everyone is the same.
Yeah.
There are girls who stay loyal and, have their boundaries and stuff. But I could tell you some things. I wouldn't even publish them. That, let's say, I remember a while back, and even in Europe, by the way, Europe is and New York, where, let's say, a person could come into the bar with their husband, another couple could come in and their boyfriend, girlfriend, where I could have both of those going down to me in the bathroom over the night, that kind of evilness. That you learn about female nature pretty quick in that circumstance. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, I always like to talk about human nature because I think I'm never on board with this getting down on not in that sense.
By
You know,
the way,
being down.
have about 10 minutes, just so you know.
Right? Yeah, sure. Let's wrap up in a second. But I just wanted to, I just wanted to say, you know, I've never been down on sort of this whole sort of like, you know, being down on women and sort of like anything like that. Because I think the issue has always been, I think men can be scumbags. I think women can also be scumbags. I think human beings are, in the end, I think human beings are out for themselves. Now, that's not to say that we can't be altruistic, and it's not to say that people, you know, always act out on their worst instincts. But I think that we do, and I think the only issue, as far as women are concerned, is that perhaps guys have not believed it of women because of the way that, you know, they thought that
women are very naive and idealistic.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. So, exactly. So it's less about saying that women as a homogenous group are good or bad or anything.
It's not a bad thing. It is what it is. I mean,
exactly.
Like men are the way we are. But it's only when you get exposed to. That's why I'm very kind of pro red pill, because I've seen it. So it's when you get exposed and you just kind of accept. You know, there's beauty and darkness. We're all light and dark. It's not. There's we just are the way we are, and I don't see anything as wrong with that anymore. I just take it as it is.
Yeah, completely. And this is my feeling about the red pill as well, is that it's not about it being good or bad. It is what it is. Nature is amoral. Nature is, this is how it is. And, you know, you're either going to, you know, accept that, you're either going to look at that seriously and say, right, this is how things are, and you're going to accept it and then decide how to move on from that, or you're going to get negative about it. And there's no point in getting negative about.
No, I mean, you know, a lot of guys, they go black pill or whatever when they kind of discover how, the true side of human nature. I'm not going to say female nature. I'm going to say human nature. You know, when they plug out from the matrix or whatever the term is, you know, they get very downhearted because it's like, you know, finding out about Santa.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, you know, we get conditioned when we're kids about how ideal relationships ought to be. And you know, you can still have a family and you can still do that, but, you know, like, be pragmatic about it. You know, you can trust, but things are circumstantial as well. You know, like, I'm trying to be careful with my words here, but I think relationships should be treated pragmatically.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, I think Andrew Tate had a good interview with Rolo about this. You know, how, you know, even him, who's you know, quite an alpha dude, like, he wouldn't be too keen on his girls going out drinking with her mates and all that kind of stuff, because he knows what's up. So and he treats it pragmatically, and, you know, you think guys like himself would be like the super, you know, like, oh, no chance she's gonna do it, which a lot of guys think, you know, their girls go out drinking with their mates, like, nah, she won't do anything, no fucking way. If he's thinking like that, you should be thinking like that. Because you know, but just people need to be pragmatic.
I think it's just, no, you know, nobody should be under the illusions that everybody's capable of doing bad things, right? And if you're having opportunities thrown at you and there's enough of them and they're attractive enough, then, you know, it's human nature that you're going to maybe act out on one of those things, you know. And we, you know, that's so. Yeah, you're right. You've got to be pragmatic and just, you know, be a little bit vigilant and just, you know,
and however, though, I do think that there is a case for temperance, because we live in a society that was, you know, completely different to the way things were 10,000 years ago when we were living in small bands of tribes, wherever relationships were a lot more close-knit, where now it's a free-for-all with, you know, dating apps and Instagram and all that kind of thing. I do think there's a case for temperance, because I know I read about this at the end of the book, that because I've had so much experience, you know, I used to like capture flags or whatever, and I got ridiculously good at it, and the more and more I did it, the less happy I got. In fact, I started to get depressed afterward, you know, just chasing, and I was doing stupid stuff like trying to, like, you know, getting 3 races in a day and stuff like that, and I just kept going and going and going to see, you know, how far can I take this, and it was kind of an empty pursuit at the end of the day. I find now I get more happiness from more meaningful relationships, but I would warn guys against you know, too much hedonism, because you can go down a dark path. I just don't think it should be all and end all. You have to have something else going on in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's right. And I sort of think the reason that some of these guys are finding the God pill now is because perhaps they sort of neglected that a little bit. I mean, for me, it's always been, I've always tried to have a balance. I'm not blowing my own trumpet here. It's just how it's sort of worked out. I've always tried to have a bit of a balance between, yes, hedonism, but also trying to have something else going on a little bit, you know.
Well, I think I listened to you on your stream. You were talking about how you get a lot of meaning from helping guys out, and that's like your kind of your purpose. You're trying to improve guys. You're kind of a mentor, and like that drives you. And so you're a good example of that, actually.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think in some shape or form, you know, you need to have a bigger mission than just chasing tail, you know. But I think that's true. I think that's true whether you're 21 or whether you're 41 or whatever. You know, it's that's something you should always be mindful of, for sure.
But try saying that to a guy in his 20s. You know,
in your
20s, just like, Argh!
Yeah, fuck it, yeah. Exactly. Well, it's the cycle of things, and you know, everyone has their own journey, as they say. But you know, but that I think a lot of us end up kind of coming to agree on this sort of thing about having some sort of a mission, some sort of a, you know, some spiritual well that comes from somewhere else, you know. But look, anyway, listen, we should probably draw this to an end because I know you've got to go and I've got to head off as well. It's been absolutely awesome having you on. Maybe we can arrange something else.
Yeah. Well, we can check in because I didn't even. I don't think I told even any stories. But it was a great conversation though. We just kind of went with the flow. I liked it.
Mate, and I mean, maybe at some point we can do another show because it would be great to like talk a bit more about travel and some other. We can think of some specific sort of things.
I'm thinking about. I did my first live stream yesterday. It was a weird experience, but I'm kind of thinking I might start doing more of it and get into the space a bit more. It's exciting,
mate. 100%. You know, so we should definitely work on some stuff. But anyway, so your book, My Life as a Mexican Pirate, is out today. People can get it on Amazon.
50% off today.
50% off today.
Yeah, it's a $5, so $5. It's like MexicanPirates.com. I'm also working on an audiobook, actually. I'm about halfway through it, but oh my god, it's so much work. You're trying to do like, you know, an argument between 3 African women and I'm narrating like, oh my god, why did you do that?
Yeah,
that's hard.
I feel the pain, man. I feel the pain. What's the website?
Have you?
Mate, I haven't yet, and I need to get onto it because I know it's. But I'm just at the moment looking at getting someone to do it because I don't know. That's
too hard. Well, if you're doing nonfiction, hire a professional. But in this book, I had to do it. You know.
Yeah. And just remind us of the URL again for the site.
MexicanPirates.com.
MexicanPirates.com.
Or NaughtyNomad.com as well. I'm on Twitter at Naughty Nomad, Instagram Naughty Nomad. We have a Facebook page, Facebook group. The group is very active for guys. For guys traveling, and if you're another guy who just wants to hook up in, I don't know, you're in Riga, you're looking for a guy to hang out with, it's a good place to go.
Mate, I need to get on board with that group actually. I need to come into that group. But yeah, the links are below. So do pick up a copy of Mark's book. It's absolutely fantastic. I can't recommend it highly enough. Mate, it's been fantastic to have you on the show. Just hang on a second after we finish because we could have a quick chat and my hearties. And thanks guys for tuning in. Sorry about the technical issues before, but I hope you've enjoyed this stream. And we will chat again very soon. Bye-bye.
Take care, guys.